people saying to me, "You ought to write a book, you." Essentially. I'd tried it once before, in combination with a journalist, but it was very flat. I've still got a copy of it somewhere. It's just very, very flat. There was no sort of no humanity and no humour in it, and so I left it for years until people kept saying to me, "You ought to write a book," and I thought, well, I'll have a go.
And was it easy to put the humour into it? Is it a very personal way of writing, or?
I wrote it exactly the way I told, which is what I didn't do the first time. I just literally, as it came into my mind, as if I was saying it, I wrote it. So that made it very easy. And the I don't know, humour, jokes, whatever it is, just kind of came out of the situations. So it wasn't, I didn't try. That's the point. Sometimes when you try things, you ruin something by trying to do it. If you just do it and don't try, sometimes it comes out like that.
There's some controversial subjects in there, some controversial words in there from yourself about Amy Winehouse and things about the supernatural and the spiritual world and the record companies and the government, things like that. Were you worried about how that would be received by people?
There are things in the book that some people would regard as controversial, yeah. Sometimes when I read it myself, or I say read it, that sounds terrible, when I look through it, I think, did you know what, there's something in here to something in here to offend everybody. But there's certainly I certainly don't mean to offend anything. I've tried to write it, as I say, the way I would normally talk. And yes, there are things I have a go at. There are things I feel very strongly about. So there are things I attack, things I criticise. And if people decide that they don't like the way I've criticised them, well, there's nothing I can say about it. It didn't seem controversial when I was writing it. But maybe, I don't know. Anything's controversial though, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to change the subject, but when the Rubettes first started, we got a whole load of local radio interviews, and we were told, look, whatever you do, don't say anything controversial, because, you know, that's not your image. So we went out of our way not to say anything controversial, and I realised at the end of it that if you do that, you don't say anything at all. So I just thought, I'm going to tell it as I see it, and that's it. It's just my opinion. There's no, you know, I'm not suggesting anything subversive.
There's a lot of stories in there regarding people you've worked with, such as Cilla Black and Jimmy Tarbuck and Tommy Steele, all these people. You have fond memories of that stuff, obviously, working with those guys. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've never worked with anybody I don't have fond memories of. All the people I've worked with, Wee Willie Harris, Cilla Black, Tommy Steele, Bill Peathers with the Coventry Theatre Orchestra, with the Rubettes. I've nothing really but fond memories of any of it. I mean, some of the situations got difficult, of course they did. But yeah, I've got nothing. And Cilla was great, Tommy was great, Jimmy Tarbuck was great. Yeah, I mean, they're good. They're, what's the right word? They're variety people. They're the kind of people that, and well, everyone I've worked with is the same. The object of getting up on the stage is to please an audience, to work to an audience. And I think it develops a kind of a niceness about most people. You hear about one or two people who have a bad reputation, but they're very few and far between. And I've never come across any of them. But I'm not a muckraker anyway, you know what I mean? I'm not a troll. I wouldn't go on, I've never been on Twitter and attacked anybody. Because I don't get it. I don't understand animosity. It don't play any part in my thinking. And when I come across it in other people, I don't understand it. It seems negative and pointless. But there's nobody I feel that way about.
Are there any nice stories about these people that aren't in the book?
I don't know if there's any that aren't in the book. I can't remember what's in the book. But, I mean, there's lovely pictures of Shirl and I when we were with Cilla Black in Coventry. I wish I'd had a camera. A wonderful picture of her trying to drag a pram into the back of a Rolls Royce, which is kind of so down to earth and so posh at the same time. Which is kind of how she was, you know. She was a well-off Scouser, and that's about as perfect as you can get. Shades of Mari Lloyd in there, because I read a lot about Mari Lloyd, and she was like that, very down to earth, common as muck if you like, and yet with this wonderful style quality and charisma. And Cilla had that on stage in spades.
Are you pleased with the way the book's turned out visually?
Yes, I'm delighted with the way it's turned out. Really, both ways. I mean, it looks gorgeous. There's loads of photographs in there, which is what I wanted, because I think that, you know, well, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Pardon me for spouting cliches. But I'm also delighted with one thing. It's not a work of literature, I don't think, by any standards, but it's very me. You know what I mean? It's not. There's no disguising it. When you read it, you think I know exactly what this bloke's like. And if you can't write a beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous autobiography that deserves a place in the, I don't know, the V&A or somewhere, then write one that's very, very honest and very you. You know, the best one I ever read, I think, was Johnny Spate, the guy that wrote Till Death Us Do Part, wrote a book called It Stands to Reason, his autobiography. And it's so obviously real. Very funny, because he's Johnny Spate. But it's also very, very honest and very down to earth and very real. So I think I probably had that in mind, kind of, in the back of my mind anyway, when I went about doing it. Yeah.